Speaking of reliability, a podcast with good friends talking with you about reliability engineering topics. Welcome to Speaking of Reliability. This is Fred Schenkelberg.
And this is Kirk Gray.
Hey, Kirk. I had a thought. The last time we chatted, and whenever I say that to Diane, if I say it, I was thinking, she goes, "Does it hurt much?" But the idea is that, a good part of Ascendo is about professional development. We have articles and
Right.
essays and podcasts and all kinds of material that is intended to help people think different about something or learn something or reinforce something they already knew. It's by design. That's what we do on the site. One of the things, though, we don't, and we have some courses that have a whole theme to them, and then you take you from the basics to working through the details of the next step and stuff like that. But what we don't have, and we have books. I'm trying to think of all the different ways we have. We got videos, we got articles, we got books, got webinars, we've got courses. We don't. Every now and then we hear about a conference or an in-person course, and we list those on the calendars. Not every so often; it's like every day we're listing stuff.
Right.
And one of the things is that we have so many options, and my hypothesis is because different people learn different ways. I mean, I love reading a book on a topic. That's my go-to. I go to the library. That's where I go to learn. And others, and I heard this the other day, is that it was in the American population, and this was in general for all reading, have the book sales of all genres is down to something like 30% of what it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, right. Because you can get it online.
We get it online, or we watch the video, or we watch a quick YouTube thing or a TikTok or whatever. And they were saying the literacy rate, and the ability to read and to write clearly is suffering because of that. One of the best ways to learn how to write is to read good writing. Right? And so if you're not reading, you don't have a lot of resources to draw on and to be able to write a clear report or a summary of something or a proposal. And that was the gist of the survey is, we're kind of losing this part. And
well, okay.
But that was my overall thought was, we're kind of going after lots of different ways people can learn reliability type stuff. And we have lots of options, and you can go find what way of learning you like versus the topic. And you can probably find a match in there somewhere. But I don't know. I'm just curious, what is a good way to really master a subject if you really want to learn it?
Well, I'd say, like you say, start out with some literature, and of course, listen to our podcast is a good way. Or all of the podcasts on Ascendo Reliability, because it gives a very large distribution of views, and both before market, pre-market, like you and I'm mostly focused on that, and as well as ongoing, maintenance
of equipment,
and factories, keeping factories running. So it's a very broad field of what you can learn. I think that it's as a consultant, we've learned so many different things that probably have never seen in our employment.
Because we're going from one industry to another, and one kind of technology to another.
A wide variety of industries, a wide variety of problems. But I think you get the basics of understanding of material science. If whatever field you're in, if it's mechanics, and you've got to know about oils and lubricants and gears and metals and different things there.
Clearances, alignment.
Clearances, tolerances. You should know about vibration and shock and those things. and that's kind of a baseline. But of course, I'm very much a hands-on guy. That's why I'll tear apart whatever I have at home that's broken just to see if I can understand how it failed, and maybe I can repair it.
Well, we've
Um,
talked about it. I don't know how many podcasts. Is
yeah,
you and your wife with blenders.
yeah,
It's and the issue is
yeah.
that
They're not
you
meant to be
got your freezer
repairable.
has gotten way too hard ice in it, or your water content makes really hard ice or something.
Right.
It must be
Yeah.
off the scale and the hardness. It's
Right.
on a Rockwell scale instead of
Right.
something else.
Right, right. It could be, or it could be that they just thought a lower power motor would do the trick, and
Hmm.
it's they're not meant to be uh, repaired or diagnosed
No, no, they're
from
not.
taking them apart. Uh,
But the idea
and
is that that's one way I didn't list on Ascendo is you learn by doing stuff and seeing
yes,
things and analyzing and asking
that's right.
questions and stuff like
Getting down
that.
on the floor, going to the people on the line and saying, "What have you seen? Where
What's working, what's not.
what's
What
failed in final test?" Because
Yeah,
that's usually whatever that mechanism is. A few got out and they're in the field.
yeah.
So so I'm always just a real hands-on guy, and then once you find the mechanism, kind of study it a little further by looking up, Ken Whiskers. You notice a
There's
short
literature on it. You see this
or
little,
or a trace that's corroded, and then you go back and find out that the your hands have some acid on them, whatever.
yeah.
Um, so
It'd be a hard
or
way to
or
find the
that or
mechanism.
they didn't clean it, and they put conformal coating on it that trapped
All the
contaminants
contaminants,
underneath.
and you got all those pretty little growing
Right.
creatures underneath it. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's just again,
But it's learning anything. Let's use Halt as an example. We
right.
we talked about failure analysis last time, but it's the let's say you're trying to learn Halt. You could buy your book. That'd be a place to start, but
Hmm.
it's too long, don't read is kind of the phenomena that this survey was doing. Is like if it's more than 2, 3 sentences, if it's not TikTok 60-second video, it's too long. I'm not going to deal with it.
Right. Right.
And I
Short
think,
tension span.
well, there's short attention span, but you have all these options where if I go here and I get a 2-minute video that covers it, then why do I need to read the book? Kind of thing. There's trade-offs, obviously. I think you and I would recognize that. Yet it's when do you cut when you for example, I have a chainsaw
Yeah.
and the shutoff switch wasn't working. So I had
Okay.
to figure out another way to I took the cowling off and said, "Oh, I see what the problem is. The it's a really cheap design for way how they did it, but if there's a little wire or a ribbon of metal with a curl at the end of it that
Uh-huh.
under some conditions it gets trapped in the on position.
Uh-huh.
And so the way it shuts the chainsaw off is that you push the lever to off and it moves that wire flap to where it shorts out your spark plug basically.
Yeah,
And
right,
says,
right.
we're
That's why
done.
engines, right.
Right. And but if it's trapped and it won't move up there, then you just have to wait till the gas runs out. Or what I did is I saw it while it was running, I moved it up there,
Yeah,
shorted
right.
it. But the idea is like, well, how do I fix this? What's it supposed to look like when it's right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the first time I actually examined that thing is like when it was in the bad position. I said, well, this isn't working, so it must have to be somewhere else. So let me go watch a video on it. And I found
Yes.
out that on YouTube, if you don't have a subscription and you watch more than one video, then you start getting ads all the way through it. It's really annoying.
Right.
And so I went and watched one video and got a good idea on it. And I was like, I went back, looked at my chainsaw. I was like, oh, I got to watch that again. And so I waited a day and I didn't get any ads. So I got to watch it again. But eventually I figured out where it was supposed to go and why it was failing and fixed it.
Right.
But I didn't need to read the manual or the book or call customer service or do all that
No,
other
and that's
stuff.
what's great about the internet and what our new information age is now. The first thing I do, if I can't figure out, where's the air filter, how do I open in my car, because
Hmm.
that's sometimes a mystery. I go
Yeah.
to YouTube and I look at, I put in that search term and it'll be a video,
10
or
videos, 10 different
Google,
people.
the
Yeah.
10 different people, right? Because a lot of them are making good money off the streaming of YouTube videos. They get paid depending on how many views they get.
Subscribers I got. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Subscribers and
so
views.
and it's been excellent. And I, look at a couple of them because may not be my exact model of dishwasher or eh,
Your
data
e-bike.
vehicle, right? Something like that, right? But that's a really great information source that's new to us because we can see it. The guy will go in with a camera and go down to the part and show you where the screws
Hmm.
are, where the latches are, and things like that. So I mean, that's my go-to right now. And the other thing is, a lot of that information's out there. It may not be correct. You talk about published things, and of course, people are still using different prediction handbooks, and it's because they're published,
Yeah, they're
and
still in
that's
the
so
books. They're
wrong. They're
still in
just so
books.
wrong,
Yeah, there's all
and
kinds
it's
of
so
wrong things about it.
misleading.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, the
there's a lot of,
MPVF is
and
still out there too. So
what's that?
the
Yeah.
MPVF is still out there.
Again, very misleading, very wrong, and it's just it's just been so embedded
Well, part of
in the
the
field.
idea of training type stuff is, if I needed to go fix something and I say, all right, it's this model from this from this brand, and this is the symptom. There's probably a dozen or more videos on YouTube or on Google we could
Right.
find
Hmm.
that say this is the problem. Here's how you know it's a problem. Here's how you fix it, which is great. It took
Right.
me 10 minutes,
Right.
you
Right.
know. Yeah, if I'm trying to learn how to balance a fan in and get the right airflow to for the system, and what's the size of the openings on the other end, and I know it's going to get debris and dust in it, how do I account for that?
Right.
All those things. There's probably not a video on how to design that system
No,
for
but you
your
go,
system, right? You
no,
haven't designed it yet. It's not in the,
no,
and then when it gets out there, nobody's going to create a video about how you designed it. You know,
no, but you can ask Chat GTP. You can
oh,
ask
there's a
some of them,
trusted resource.
and well, you'd be surprised. Yes, I think you have to know a little bit about the field that you're in,
Hmm.
but I see most of the information, most of what I've asked the Chat GTP come up with, if it has anything to do with reliability, for the most part, it's fairly reasonable and accurate. There might be a few things in there, but I find that it will give like test plans. It'll give basic outlines that are pretty decent. It'll give a failure analysis, potential failure analysis causes, depending on what you put in, and it all
Hmm.
really is a matter of what you put in and how you ask the question. And I just, I find it incredible that I can uh, understand, the impact of uh, electromigration, and it'll give you all kinds of details on it in a few seconds. It
Hmm.
researches thousands of articles, or it's already got, I don't know where and how it reaches out the databases that it looks at,
Well,
but
look,
it's
your
a pretty
last
amazing.
time we talked in the summer, you were talking about finding resources for your paper you were working on, a recent article you posted,
Hmm.
and
Right.
it half of, not some percentage, some
You're right.
20% of the
Some of them it
references they
made it
used were
up.
just
You're
bogus.
right. They're
Like,
bogus because I ask it again to tell me where it found that cited article, and it says I don't know. I give it the
nothing to see
same thing
here.
it
We're not
gave
going to
me
talk
back.
about that.
Yeah.
We're
So
not going to talk about it. Keep
yes,
moving.
yes, but that's going to get better. It's going to get better in the
Well,
future.
it's going to get better at making it up and then write the paper and create
I
the
don't
journal
know
for
about.
it.
I don't know. I don't see that was one part of 25 references that it gave me that were pretty accurate, and I could find the papers.
Well, three of
So,
them you did couldn't. And they were perfect titles. You're like, this would be a great paper if only it existed.
yeah, right. So that, yeah, that's true. That's, we've it's been documented that this chat TV AI makes up stuff. But
Well,
I think
no,
that
no,
it's
no,
going to
no,
get
no, no,
better.
no, no. The idea here, Kirk, is that it's a really good point, though, is you mentioned that you need to know a little bit about what you're searching for and how to
Right.
search and how to interact with
Right.
ChatGPT. But it's
Right.
the same with a book, right? It's the same with a webinar or podcast or whatever. I go to YouTube to find something on my chainsaw, and I know what I'm looking for. I know the
Right.
terms, I know the model, I know the principles of how you shut down motors and stuff like that. But the the issue is that you got to it's sort of like investing, you got to get started. You got to learn something to get it started. And it could be the old-fashioned way with a mentor or the coach or your boss or whatever
Mm-hmm.
helps you learn stuff, or you're just curious and you go read it and then but the real point I want to make is that as you're learning stuff is if it's my chainsaw and it still doesn't turn off like it's supposed to with the switch, then
Right.
I know I didn't do it right. And I have to go back, hit another YouTube video or do something different
Right.
because I get the feedback right away. Whereas with
Right.
design things or with code, I think code is great because you try running it. If it works, you're in good shape. If
Right.
you're,
Right.
if it doesn't work, then you did something wrong. You left a comma out somewhere or something like
Right.
that. But
Right.
it's the idea is that learning involves the verification step. Is this true? Is this really work? Does this solve my problem?
Right.
And it's great to know the alphabet backwards, but I'm not going to check you on it because I don't really care. Yeah.
Right. But if you were asked what's the fit rate of this component to Chat GTP, first thing is why are you using fit and
Yeah.
what failures of time, per billion hours, how many components fail? And I'm thinking, this is again, there's so much misinformation, misleading directions, I think,
Hmm.
especially reliability prediction, which I hope everybody reads at the end of my show notes always. In every one of them, I put a link to reliability prediction, a continued mis- use of misleading approach, um, and it's an approach. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I want everybody to read that and why it's so difficult to predict the future. I don't, we don't know that it's difficult to predict the future, but yes, it is in electronic life for many things, not mechanics. Mechanics are easier, but for many things, it's always a special cause for the most part. Very few, sometimes common cause in the design, but uh, it's all very unique. I think that learning in, by actually going back, first thing, if you want to know how things and why things fail, study, the warranty returns, the field failures, what really fails, what the
Well,
cause
I
is.
take it. I take a step back and say, learn how to do failure analysis, how to
Learn how to do
ask,
failure analysis right.
and what tools are
If you
available.
haven't,
Because if you never heard of an X-ray before, you need to see inside a package without taking it apart.
right. If you've never seen delamination right, you may
Yeah,
not
or
know.
if you have, but you also need to know that X-ray is not good at finding delamination.
No.
It's
Ultrasound, what
but
is it?
scanning
Acoustical
scanning SAM, scanning acoustic
scan. Right.
microscopy.
Right.
Not an easy
Right.
word for me
That's
to
right.
pronounce.
That shows a delamination in a package or
Yeah,
internal.
but there's all these cool tools we got out there
Right.
that part of it is being familiar with how can you extend your vision and touch and your own senses
Mm-hmm.
to get into stuff. There's non-destructive techniques and destructive techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you can learn so much by doing a quality grade or really fine grade and uh, cross section and polishing. It's amazing
Mm-hmm.
what you can learn doing stuff like that. And
Right. And you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to get out of your office. You got to get out of your, and go down to the lab, go down to the manufacturing line, go down to the failure analysis lab.
and then they won't let you back because you're down there breaking stuff just to see how it fails.
No, there's plenty of stuff already broken and you can look at and ask
Oh yeah,
guys.
yeah. Well, you're no
And they
fun. I'm
don't
not
they don't
taking you
write
with me.
down, and the guys there in the failure analysis lab are not writing down everything. They just discover it, and they might if
Say, don't
report
do
it to
this
the,
again.
and then they file it away. And
Yeah.
once they leave the company, nobody knows about it,
Yeah.
and it comes back.
Well, that was one that I had a lot of fun doing when I was at HB is we did a monthly webinar, and it was like every 6 months I invited one of the lab guys in the failure analysis lab,
Yeah.
and they had the greatest pictures and slides of stuff. And it was
Oh,
like,
yeah, and I
this is
love
happening in
that.
these, and this is the story, and
Oh,
here's how we
yeah.
found it. And
Look at this, right?
yeah. So there, that was a great way just to raise awareness of ways
Exactly.
different things would fail.
Exactly.
And
Seeing how things actually failed.
oh, I also saw one last note, and we'll wrap
Okay.
this one up. Is I saw a note. It was on the starting story of Sesame Street,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't. It was a total experiment. Can you teach kids through TV? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so what they did, they made the assumption that if we make it entertaining, you could actually teach kids, colors and the names of animals and all
The
kinds of stuff that
letters and
Sesame
right
Seed. Yeah,
alphabet.
one
Mm-hmm.
of these is not like the others. Remember
Mm-hmm.
that when the
Right.
jingle stuck in my head for the last 60 years.
Yeah.
But the idea was is that one of the in the interview, somebody said, "Well, how did this change instruction?" And they said, "Well, this kindergarten teacher came into the studio and was talking to us and said, whatever you're doing is working because kids are coming to kindergarten knowing the alphabet, knowing numbers, and knowing, colors and all kinds of stuff. And I have to
Mm-hmm.
redo all of my curriculum because up until your show, I had to start with blue is this, and green
Right.
is that, and things like that." And she said, "Well, how do you do it?" And they kind of looked at her like, "Well, we entertain and teach." This is, but I'm not an entertainer. And he said, "Well, it's a good way to teach."
Right. Well, as engineers, we make tools, and the tools are getting better, and we
Yeah.
need to use those tools. And we can skip certain steps as we develop the better tools. But I think, the basics of, I don't know, we all need to learn multiplication tables still when everybody has a phone that has a very high level calculator in it.
Hmm.
And, the question is, where do we cut off that and start saying, okay, we can just jump this to now, because obviously the development Sesame Street gave a, at home runway for the kids to learn on their
Hmm.
own. And I think at the same time, the internet is providing a lot of that capability. And for engineers listening to this, or, new guys in the field of reliability, this is another place where it's an excellent place to learn all the different things, including,
Why not to
maintenance
do predictions?
engineering. Yeah, if you're in that site, I don't know that you do site
No, no, I don't do
reliability.
the
That's the
site
one
reliability.
field that you don't cover that's
No,
called reliability, and that's
no.
keeping data centers
I don't
running.
know anybody. If anybody's listening to this and know of a good person that wants to write or do podcasts and get on,
Yeah, I'm always interested in that
spearhead it
field.
through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when the save button doesn't work on my article I'm putting up on Ascendo. It's like,
Or I can't
gotta,
access the Google Scholar or something,
yeah,
whatever.
gotta fix that. Yeah.
Right. And I know that they have a different set of issues in data centers. The guys trying to keep all the servers running, and maybe sometimes it's actual hardware failures.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to hear from them. So, yeah, if
Yeah.
you can
No, it
find
would be.
anybody that's a site reliability engineer, we'd love to hear.
So the summary of all this is, so what did you learn today? And let us know. But anything, it's, what works for you, what's a good approach, what's your go-to type
Yeah.
stuff is, I'm just curious about a bunch of that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
mostly so I can improve the site, and if that's the way we want to go.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
there's lots of ways. And so please get a hold of us. You can head over to accendoreliability.com/go/SOR. There's a couple of ways to get in touch with us there. Kirk and I and the other hosts of the show are available through LinkedIn and our about pages. So you just learned three, four different ways to get a hold of us. Sorry. And then please use it. Don't forget
And
it.
please ask questions and let us know what is the best way you found to learn
Hmm.
reliability.
Yeah. Oh, we could do a whole nother podcast just on that question. But anyway, thanks
All
so
right.
much, Kirk. We'll talk to you again
Okay.
soon.
We'll talk to you again, Brad.
Cheers. Thanks for listening to Speaking of Reliability. We invite you to join the conversation. If you have a question or a topic that you think we should discuss in a future show, please let us know. You can find a comment box below the episode show notes, or just leave a note as part of a review on iTunes.